When I got into university, my parents purchased an apartment close to the campus so that I could live my way without dealing with other people. I'm not social, and I could best be described as either a misanthropist or curmudgeonly. It was great for 2 years, and I came out of my shell a little. I met other people like me and discovered that, unlike high school, university isn't a nightmare. I even met a guy. We both work at the campus store. My little brother graduated last year and got into the same school. Rather than stay in dorms, he convinced my parents to let him move in with me. Well, they own it, so I had no say in the matter. I lasted 1 semester. Since he had an off-campus residence, my apartment became party central. I asked my parents to make him stop after talking to him didn't work. They said to loosen up. I think they expected it would change my personality. I talked to the university and snagged a rare single room in the mature student dorm. I don't have a lot of stuff, so when we went home for Christmas, I took what was really important to me. My boyfriend, the first one ever by the way, looked at me, all social now, cleaned out my room and moved my stuff to student housing for me. When we drove back after New Year's, I dropped off my brother and went to my new place. It isn't perfect, but it's pretty sweet. My parents called me and asked where I was. My brother had let them know I wasn't in the apartment. I told them where I was and why I was there. They were upset that they spent all that money to help me and I didn't appreciate it. I said they did until they stuck me with my brother. Without me there, he's having a blast. Good for him. He's also missing a lot of classes and has been fined for noise complaints by the condo board, but that's not my problem. My parents are asking me to move back in because my brother is in danger of being put out on academic probation. I asked if I was allowed to bar him from having parties and stuff. He was part of the conversation and was upset that I was asking to be put in charge of him. My parents said he was allowed some freedom and that, as his big sister, I should look out for him and not let him fail. I thanked them for the opportunity but declined. And he recently had a party that the cops had to shut down. My parents are considering selling the apartment, but it's kind of a crappy market right now, I guess. I feel bad that they might lose money after doing something so awesome for me, and I feel bad that my idiot brother might have to take some time off school to calm down. But I don't think I'm the idiot. They all do, though. Not the idiot. Your parents want to spoil their son but blame you for the consequences of their crappy parenting. You are 100% right to wash your hands of it. They would rather you live with him and clean up his mess than enforce some boundaries or consequences on his behavior and ensure you both have an environment where you can thrive. I'm sure that this was the reason for putting you together, so you could babysit him. Exactly. It's not your job to babysit your brother. His actions are his own and yours are yours. You're not your brother's mother. If your parents want him in a more controlled environment, they can have him live on campus, where he'll have to abide by the rules. If your parents sell the place, it's because of him, not you. LOL, it's not a crappy market right now. They could find another renter or buyer quickly, especially in a college town. Just a classic parent guilt trip assuming their kid is too dumb to recognize such a bold-faced lie. I tell my kid the tooth fairy won't come if their room is dirty too. Same. As the oldest child, I always hated being put in charge of my younger siblings. All responsibility and no authority. There were no problems until my brother moved in. There were no cops called on the condo until he moved in. Opie's brother wasn't ready for the freedom of his own apartment. He will get tossed out of an apartment her parents own and will fail out of college, but let's give him his freedom. Opie, you're not your brother's keeper. Congratulations on your independence, boyfriend, and future success. For my eldest son's mid-teen birthday, I gave him an old car of mine that I hadn't used in several years and had broken down. I also gave him some money to help him fix it, but he had spent a lot of his own money to fix it. When my second son turned the same age, he wanted a motorcycle, and I gave him an old motorcycle of mine. It worked fine enough, and he hasn't had to spend any money fixing it yet. These were their only presents from me. My daughter's birthday was last week. I know my daughter wanted a car, but I don't have a car sitting around to give her. I gave her $500 for a car and got her some jewelry. I told her she would need to save up herself if she wanted a car, and I could help her get a loan in my name. She has a job, so this isn't out of the question. She was a little sulky about the situation and complained that I'd given her brother's vehicles, but understood I wasn't trying to spite her. I have other young sons I will give the same to when they turn this age, so this isn't me trying to single her out. I should have thought about how I wouldn't be able to give my younger kids the same treatment as the oldest when I gave him a car, but he's significantly older than my other kids, so I wasn't really thinking of them when I gave him the car. I was just trying to do something nice for him. Although my daughter isn't too bummed out over the car, my ex-wife is a different story. She's seen me give the other boys nice things for their birthday. My eldest is her stepson and thinks I'm treating her differently because she's a girl and that I always prioritize the boys. Apparently, my daughter was more upset about the lack of a car than I'd thought. She thinks I should at least put more money towards our daughter getting a car as she knows I can afford it and am being an idiot by not getting her one. I told her that she could also give our daughter money for a car. The truth is, I could probably afford to put more money towards buying my daughter a car or even find a cheap used car to buy her. But by giving her the $500, I already spent more directly on her birthday present than the boys, as their presents were sitting around collecting dust in my garage. I can't remember how much I gave my son to fix the car, but it was max $250. I have 3 younger kids. I can't really continue to set a precedent that I'll buy each of them a car. Am I being the idiot? I feel like I ruined her birthday by letting her down. You are the idiot. You gave your boys something worth more than $500 and some jewelry. You gave them freedom. But you gave your daughter a whole case of resentment. You blatantly favor your sons. How did you expect her to feel about this? Agree. My dad did the same thing with my brother and I, but in reverse, and my brother is very distant with him now. He and I were always close, and we shared the car I got without a problem. He never held a grudge against me. Things like that, though, just get under your skin, and if it happens a lot, it slowly chips away at the relationship without you even realizing it. The problem was that I got an expensive gift while my brother didn't. For example, now I wouldn't give one of my kids an iPhone and $50 to the other. Either they both get something expensive or something cheaper. The jewelry is what gets me. He didn't just fail to give his daughter a car, he added insult to injury by giving her a blatantly gendered replacement gift. He went full on 1950s with his birthday gifts. Even if he didn't intend to send a gendered message, his daughter sure as heck would have interpreted it as one. Didn't you understand? The cars were collecting dust in a garage, so they're absolutely worthless. Right, OP? Just like the money in your savings account, just sitting there collecting dust. Maybe transfer all of that to your daughter. Dude, please take the time to estimate the replacement value of a working car and working motorcycle and use those numbers rather than assuming zero value since you owned them. That is not how assets work. My wife, 23, and I, 26 male, have been together for 3 years, if relevant. Lately, my wife has been emotional, like every little thing sets her off. There wasn't a banana. She cries. No sugar. She cries. Mr. Bus. She cries. I'd almost think she was pregnant, but we discovered after a year of trying to conceive that she was infertile. This was 2 months ago. She also recently had a baby start at her nursery, which set her off, so it's been a tough time. I've tried to be empathetic, but it's all the time. Tears. I'm so tired. Like each time she cries, I'll drop what I'm doing to comfort her, even if she calls me at work. She walks an hour to work after a bus journey. She leaves at 6:30 to get to work at 9:30. That's how long the travel is. I told her I'd drive her, but she didn't want me to. I told her to take an umbrella, and she forgot. She called me sobbing because it rained like I said it would. She asked me to pick her up, and I said I couldn't because I had a meeting. She said, "I'm sure they'll understand." I refused. She got huffy, and when she got home that night, she wasn't crying, shocker, but was mad. She hasn't spoken to me since, but we haven't seen each other much as she gets home late and still has work to do, coursework, etc. I asked a friend who insisted I was the idiot, but my wife texted me to say she's considering taking driving lessons in June, which I thought was a win, but she's still angry. So, am I the idiot? Edit. I did want children, but obviously I want to allow my wife to have her feelings on this. I don't want to grieve in front of her and think I'm blaming her. Should she want to adopt or do IVF, I am open, but should she decide not to have children, then I will support her. I do not feel like it's my space to be upset here. You are the idiot. Shouldn't you be concerned that something is going on? Maybe she needs to check with a medical professional. Your wife's life sounds challenging right now. She found out 2 months ago that she can't have children. She has to commute 3 hours each way to work, and once she gets there, she's confronted by her infertility in a whole other way. On top of that, her partner is starting to lose patience with her difficulty coping with all that. Whether or not she has underlying chronic depression, she's certainly depressed right now and needs help. I hope you can see that, and I hope you're also taking the time to process what her infertility means for you. She's not crying to be annoying, she's crying for a reason. Finding she's infertile would be a reason. Having all her hopes and dreams for the future crushed would be a reason. Your wife is in the middle of a mental crisis. She needs support and help. Get over yourself. You're an insensitive idiot. Apologize to your wife and you should both seek therapy. No idiots here. I know everyone is tearing you a new one, but let's be real. You also just found out you can't have kids with her. Yes, I know it's her body, so it's harder, not disputing that, but there's still a sense of loss. You haven't said all this to her. You've been gentle and there every time for the last 2 months. Everyone will hit a limit where they're also exhausted and grieving and supporting their partner and not receiving that support. Again, I'm not belittling what she's going through. I think you're both going through a tough time, and while you need to support her, you also can't pour from an empty cup. I would suggest counselling to navigate what you guys are going through. That's the best answer here. Everyone's slamming OP, who is also struggling with the recent heartbreaking news, has been doing their best to support their partner and is running out of steam. Something people don't always realise as well is that being the main support person for someone who has depression is really hard. It's a black hole that sucks the life out of everyone in the house. Not an easy thing to go through. Professional help is certainly required for the wife, possibly OP too, because who supports you, OP? My sister-in-law Diane was a nurse in the Pacific Northwest. She lived in a very high cost of living city. 15 years ago, she bought a small apartment in a new development. It took about 2 years to build. In that time, the price of apartments in that building went up by about 30%. Nevertheless, she didn't sell it because it was perfect for her. Unfortunately, she was diagnosed with breast cancer about 2 years after she took possession. She really didn't want to move back to Minnesota, so she asked her family for money to keep up with the mortgage. None of them had the money, and her mom wanted her to move home. I was friends with her before I married her sister. Just friends, nothing more. She asked me for help. I bought the apartment from her. I took over the mortgage. I didn't charge a rent. I paid all the taxes and condo levies. She got enough money from her insurance and a side hustle to live there. My wife knew we were helping her, but we didn't say anything because her mom was angry that she didn't move home after her diagnosis. Diane passed away last month. She had a hard life for the last decade, but she was happy. So when her mom got a copy of the will, she was furious. The apartment is worth a lot of money now. It's in a great building in a good neighborhood. She was expecting the apartment to sell and for there to be money to split up amongst all of her grandchildren. Diane never married and never had kids. Mother-in-law found out about the deal I made with Diane. My wife and I own the apartment outright. After we clear it out and get rid of all her stuff, we'll rent it out. The income it will generate will pay for our retirement in a while. And then, when we sell it, our kids will have a nice nest egg to help them. But now, my mother-in-law told everyone how we took advantage of her daughter in her time of need and stole her apartment, and how Diane would be upset if she knew we weren't sharing all the money from the apartment. It's really starting to bug my wife, and she says she should sell it and help out all the nephews and nieces. I showed her a spreadsheet of all our costs for the apartment. If I subtract all of my costs and lost opportunities for the investment, the 8 nibblings might get $3,000 each when everything is said and done. I said if she wanted, we could give them each that much to help her family to drop it. Her family says that it's BS and that we should sell the apartment and split it equally. I said that I'd be willing to do that in return for each of them paying 1/3 of the money I'd invested over the last 10 years. They don't think that's fair. My wife is upset and her family is upset, and I'm just trying to be fair to myself. I spent 10 years giving up other investment and toys for myself and helped out Diane instead, and now I'm getting crapped on. Not the idiot. The family is just upset because they assume Diane left them an estate they could split amongst themselves. But that's just greedy. You enabled Diane to live independently for as long as possible, and the house is your property, not part of Diane's estate. If her family members had chipped in to support her during the last 10 years, there might be an estate worth fighting over. Your in-laws sound really greedy. If it's all about helping family, why didn't they help Diane out financially when she needed their support? They didn't support her when it wouldn't benefit them, but now that she's gone, they expect some financial gain from her death. I know grief does weird things to people, but that's just such a screwed up mindset. Yeah, this falls under the no good deed goes unpunished rule. You did a good thing, a great thing actually, in helping Diane. It'd be a shame if you lost your retirement boon just because greedy, entitled people are being loud. You know they aren't going to be happy about this no matter what, right? Even if the nibs get $3,000, the complaining and lies will not end. Ever. So do what you intended and keep it for your retirement. My parents have 50-50 custody of me, but usually they don't force me to stay anywhere because of custody. I'm allowed to stay with whoever I want. I, a teen female, have been living with my dad for 5 years. I visit my mom occasionally, but I prefer my dad's home because I have to share a room at my mom's home, which I hate. My birthday is in 2 weeks, and my mom is insisting I spend my birthday with her and her kids. The problem is that my dad and I were planning to celebrate my birthday in my favorite restaurant. It's a very expensive restaurant and the food is perfect, so if I spend my birthday with my mom, I'll have to eat her food instead of that. I told my mom unless she could take me somewhere like that restaurant, I'd rather spend my birthday with my dad. She said she couldn't afford it, and I said, fine, but I'm not coming then. An hour later, my aunt, mom's sister, sent me a long text calling me an ungrateful idiot and lecturing me about how I should treat my mom, so I had to block her. I think they're very unreasonable. It's my birthday. I should be able to spend it how I want. You are the idiot. I understand some of your reasons, but in the end, you don't want to spend your birthday with your mother because she can't afford a fancy meal, and that's just an awful move. It's not easy to please both parents, and obviously, your birthday should be about you and what you want. But if you told your mother that you would only spend time with her if she could take you somewhere like that restaurant, you basically told her that you don't like spending time with her at all and just do it for the potential perks, which is indeed ungrateful. Yeah, Mum basically has to buy time with her daughter. You had to block your aunt? Oh, boo-boo. I call BS on that one. You wanted to block her because you couldn't stand her calling you out on your bad and ungrateful behaviour. You are the idiot for only loving the parent with the money and telling that to the other parent. Money may buy happiness, but it doesn't buy class, grace and humility. P.S. It's not your money, it's your father's. My mom doesn't buy anything. My dad pays for everything. Also, my mom's other kids are very picky, so I'll end up eating their favourite food on my birthday as usual. She has her own money. She just spends it on her other kids, and when I need something, even if I'm at her home, she tells me to ask my dad for money. She thinks it'll make us more equal. Boy, it changed my perspective. Since her mom isn't treating OP fairly the way she treats her other kids, I can see why OP doesn't feel close to her mum and avoids her mum. I can't really blame her for that.